The village square bruised with murmurs the day Adaeze arrived at her uncle's compound. Her parents had died in quick succession. Her father from a lingering sickness, and a mother from the grief that followed. At just 12 years old, her world had crumbled. Neighbors whispered among themselves, "Let this child not lose hope." Her uncle Mazobina was the only close relative willing to take her in. But her uncle's wife, Nena, did not welcome her with warmth. She stood by the doorway, her hands folded across her chest, watching Adaeze drag her small box of belongings into the compound. "You people should come and see. So it is me that will still be carrying another person's load on top of my head." Nena hissed, glaring at the neighbors. Adaeze bowed her head, clutching her mother's wrapper tightly across her. She had no words. She simply hoped her presence would not be too heavy a burden. But in her heart, she already knew she had entered a house where peace would be scarce. Life in the compound became unbearable for Adaeze. From the very first week, Nena made it clear she was not welcomed. "Go and fetch water from the stream before my children wake up," she ordered one morning, tossing a dirty bucket at Adaeze. Her tone carried no care, only authority. Adaeze obeyed quietly. She would wake before dawn, carrying heavy loads of water, sweeping the compound and preparing breakfast, while Nena's children still slept under their mother's arms. When the food was ready, Nena would serve her children with generous portions of yam and stew, leaving Adaeze with the burnt scraps stuck at the bottom of the pot. "Is it not food? Eat it and be grateful you are not dead with your parents." Nena spat one afternoon when Adaeze hesitated to eat the shared leftover. Even when Adaeze's small dresses tore from overuse, Nena never bothered to buy her new ones. Instead, she would hand her the faded clothes her daughters had outgrown. Adaeze wore them without complaint, though neighbors sometimes noticed and pitied her. But pity was all she ever received. No one dared confront Nena. When the new school term began, Adaeze looked forward to following her cousins to the village primary school, but her hope was quickly crushed. "Which money do you think we will use to send you to school?" Nena barked, her eyes blazing. "Are you not seeing that I am struggling with my own children? Who told you school is for everybody?" Adaeze's lips trembled. "But Mama Nena, Papa Obinna said I can." "Shut your mouth!" Nena shouted, raising her hand. "Do you want me to slap sense into your head? From today, you will stay here and help me with house chores. School is not for a child like you." And so, while her cousins packed their books and headed to class each morning, Adaeze stayed behind, scrubbing floors, pounding cocoyam and hawking fruits at the roadside. The first day she watched her cousins live in their clean uniforms, Adaeze cried silently in the backyard. She longed to learn, to sit in a classroom and write on a chalkboard, but her dreams were buried under her aunt's cruelty. Mazobina was not blind to his wife's behavior. He saw the way Adaeze was treated, the overwork, the small portions of food, the denial of schooling. One evening, he tried to raise the matter. "Nena, why not allow Adaeze to go to school? At least, primary is not expensive." Nena turned sharply, her eyes narrowing. "So you want to use the little money we have to train another person's child, eh? When your own children need shoes and books?" Obinna shifted uncomfortably. He wanted to insist, but he feared the storm that would follow. He had learned that when he opposed his wife, she would lock him out at night, refusing him intimacy. She controlled him in ways he did not know how to resist. So he signed and said nothing more. From that day, he avoided confronting her about Adaeze. Neighbors began calling him woman rapper, a man tied completely under his wife's authority. And indeed, that was who he had become. Nnenna's cruelty was not confined to the walls of her home. She made it a public spectacle. One afternoon, Adaeze dropped a tray of oranges she was hawking. Some rolled into the muddy gutter. Before she could gather them, Nnenna stormed into the street, shouting, "Useless child! I sent you on a simple errand, and you still managed to disgrace me. Who will pay for these oranges now?" She slapped Adaeze hard across the face, right there in front of neighbors and passers-by. The girl staggered, tears streaming down her cheeks, while people shook their heads in pity. "Take it easy, madam," an elderly woman cautioned. "This child has suffered enough." "Leave me alone," Nnenna snapped. "If she cannot work, let her go back to the grave where her parents are rotting." Adaeze's heart sank. She wished the ground would swallow her. Each insult cut deep, but she endured silently. Deep inside, she prayed one day God would remember her. At night, Adaeze would sometimes cry softly on her raffia mat in the corner of the kitchen where she slept. The sound was faint, but Mazi Obinna often heard it. His conscience pricked him, yet he never moved. One night, unable to bear it, he whispered to Nnenna, "This girl is just a child, Nnenna. At least, let her eat well. You give her too much work." Nnenna turned to him, sneering, so it is now my fault that your brother died and left his child for me to carry? If you pity her so much, why not cook for her yourself? Or better still, marry her as a second wife and feed her with your sweat." Her words struck him dumb. He rolled over and kept quiet. Deep down, he felt Adaeze's pain, but his fear of losing peace in his bedroom tied his tongue. His silence became a second punishment to the girl. For though she longed for his protection, it never came. Adaeze's days were filled with endless tasks. Before sunrise, she was fetching water. By mid-morning, she was scrubbing clothes by the stream. In the afternoon, she was hawking fruits or firewood along the dusty roads. One harmattan season, she woke up coughing violently. Her small body ached. Her lips were dry and cracked. Still, Nnenna barked. "Get up! Are you waiting for me to bring tea to your mouth? Go and wash those clothes before the sun disappears." Adaeze staggered to her feet, dragging the heavy bundle of dirty clothes. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. Neighbors sometimes muttered in pity, "This child is more like a housemaid than a relative." But no one dared confront Nnenna directly. Everyone feared her sharp tongue. And so, Adaeze bore her suffering in silence, praying one day she would be free. It was on a market day that everything came to a head. Adaeze had been left to cook yam and soup for the family while Nnenna went to the market with her children. But as she stirred the pot, smoke began to rise. The soup had burnt at the bottom. She tried to scrape it quickly, but the bitter smell filled the compound. When Nnenna returned and tasted the soup, her face twisted in rage. "Is this what you cooked? You want to kill us with poison? Idiot child!" Before Adaeze could explain, Nnenna grabbed a broom and began beating her mercilessly. Adaeze cried, shielding her head, but the lashes fell hard and fast. "You will not eat in this house today, ungrateful orphan." Then, in her fury, Nnenna shoved her toward the gate. "Get out of my sight before I kill you with my hands." Adaeze ran barefoot, tears blinding her as she fled down the street. Adaeze kept running until her legs ached, her face wet with tears. She didn't know where she was going, only that she needed to escape. In her haste, she collided with a tall man dressed in fine clothes, almost knocking his bag from his hand. "Hey, easy there," the man said, steadying her. His voice was calm, gentle. He looked down and saw her swollen eyes, her torn dress, and the broom marks on her arms. "What happened to you, little one?" he asked softly. Adaeze sniffed, wiping her eyes. She was so afraid to speak at first, but the man's kind expression made her stammer out. "It's my auntie. She beats me. She doesn't want me to go to school." The man frowned deeply. "What is your name?" "Adaeze," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "My name is Chief Okafor. Don't cry again. You will be fine." Those words felt like water to a thirsty soul. For the first time in years, Adaeze felt a glimmer of hope. Chief Okafor lived in a large house at the edge of the town. He was known for his wealth, but also for his quiet generosity. That day, he told Adaeze to follow him. When they arrived, his wife, Madam Ifoma, gasped at the sight of the girl's bruises. "Chineke, what wickedness is this?" she exclaimed, drawing Adaeze inside. They bathed her, fed her a warm meal, and dressed her in clean clothes. Adaeze wept silently, overwhelmed by the sudden kindness. Chief Okafor listened patiently as she narrated her story. The death of her parents, her uncle's silence, her auntie's cruelty, and her dream of going to school. By the time she finished, he was shaking his head. "No child deserves such suffering," he said firmly. "From today, you are under my care. You will go back to school, Adaeze. I will see to it myself." Adaeze stared at him in disbelief. "School?" "Yes," he said, smiling. "Your future is brighter than your suffering. Don't ever forget that." That night, Adaeze lay on a soft mattress. For once, she did not cry herself to sleep. She whispered a quiet prayer of thanks as her heart beat with renewed hope. True to his word, Chief Okafor enrolled Adaeze in a good private school in town. On her first day, she wore a neatly ironed uniform and shiny black shoes. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she almost didn't recognize the girl staring back. At school, Adaeze's sharp mind shone quickly. She answered questions confidently, impressing her teachers. Within a term, she ranked among the best in her class. Every evening, when she returned home, Madam Ifoma would ask her about her day, listening patiently to her stories. For the first time since her parents' death, Adaeze felt what true family love meant. Her laughter returned. Her eyes, once dim with sorrow, now sparkled with hope. Back in the village, people began to notice Adaeze's transformation. She would sometimes pass by with Madam Ifoma, dressed neatly, her school bag swinging on her shoulders. Neighbors whispered among themselves, "Is this not same Adaeze that Nnenna used to maltreat? Chai, God has remembered this child." One market day, Nnenna saw Adaeze buying provisions with Madam Ifoma. She froze, her face burning with embarrassment. People stared at her, murmuring, "So you chased her away, but see how she has risen. Wanyo Biojo, wicked woman." Nnenna stormed home angrily that day, but no matter how she tried to defend herself, the community had already judged her. Her cruelty was no longer hidden. Mazobina was the most humiliated. He would sit quietly in the evenings as villagers mocked him with subtle jests. One can see the difference between a man and a woman rapper. They would say, "See how Chief Okafor picked up what you threw away, and now it shines brighter than gold." Each time, Obinna felt his chest tighten with regret. He remembered the nights he had heard Adaeze crying, the times he had wanted to speak but kept silent. Now, even his children questioned him. "Papa, why didn't you help Adaeze when he was with us?" one of them asked innocently. Obinna had no answer. His silence had condemned him. He realized too late that weakness in the face of injustice is as dangerous as wickedness itself. Years passed. Adaeze continued to excel in school. With Chief Okafor's sponsorship, she went on to the university studying law. By the time she graduated with honors, she was no longer the timid orphan of old. She was now a confident young woman, respected and admired. She became a voice for the voiceless, often speaking against child abuse and neglect in communities. Many parents brought their children to her as a role model. One day, Adaeze returned to the village in a neat car, stepping out in her lawyer's gown. The entire village gathered, clapping and praising her. She was once despised, but look at her today, they said. Truly, destiny cannot be buried. Meanwhile, Nnenna's own children, despite their privileges, struggled in life. Her first son dropped out of school due to laziness. Her second daughter became wayward, always chasing after men. The youngest had no direction at all. Nnenna wept in secret. She had thought denying Adaeze an education would protect her own children's future, but fate had turned the tables. On the day Adaeze was called to bar, she returned to the village with gifts for the elders, clothes for the women, and even money for the youths. The whole community sang her praises. Nnenna stood aside, her face heavy with shame. She could not meet Adaeze's eyes. But Adaeze, with a gentle smile, walked up to her and knelt. Auntie, thank you for everything. If not for the suffering, I might not have known the value of kindness today. Her words pierced Nnenna's heart like a spear. Tears streamed down her face as she muttered, Adaeze, forgive me, I wronged you greatly. The crowd gasped at the humility of the young woman. That day, everyone learned a lesson. Wickedness may prosper for a while, but destiny cannot be stopped. Adaeze's life became a shining example that no matter how deep the suffering, God can raise beauty from ashes.